Hi, my name is Kirk. Welcome to Tales from the Underground, the new series that we are launching here on the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. And for episode one, our inaugural episode, I've got a musician from one of my favorite contemporary heavy rock progressive metal bands, Black Orchid Empire. And we're joined by singer-songwriter, vocalist, guitarist, Paul Visser. Paul, how are you doing?
Very well, Kirk. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Been working, but I had 2 hours to prepare for this interview, which is more than enough. So
The
I'm
whole
in
lot of time.
I'm in a good mood. Yeah. And what about you? How, because you're at work, aren't you? The recording studio in East
Yeah.
London. Have you been recording, mixing? What have you been doing today?
I was doing a writing session today. It's kind of cheating if you like what you do so much you don't really get to call it work. But yeah, I am at work. It's our new studio, which is a lovely place in East London, and it's a commercial studio, so we're always doing loads of different sessions for other artists as well as working on our own material. So I am at work, but I'm very happy to be here. So
Yeah.
it's not a problem. I'm in my place of work, but it's totally good. Yeah, no, very
What
excited to be
kind of
here.
artists were you working with today? Did you say you were, are you doing some ghostwriting for other artists today?
It's not ghostwriting, it's just songwriting. I mean, there's the idea of ghostwriting, I think, comes more from the idea that artists are kind of weird about admitting they collaborate with other people. But I think in the pop world, that's very normalized. I think in the heavy music world, it's not, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen all the time. And actually, I think you probably find that a lot of big records have got collaborators on them, whether or not that's behind the scenes or not. I don't think I'm breaking any trade secrets by saying that. But the point about music is it's just about connecting with other people, and if you can do that with a collaborator, it's just an extra way of bringing something else that's interesting to the table. And I think there's a lot of people hang a lot of what they do on the authenticity of it. And I think if someone isn't in your house playing guitar in front of you, then it's not an authentic performance. It's a different type of performance. It's a sort of recording, or it's some kind of curated experience, which once the gloves are off in that kind of realm, I think anything goes. It's when I watch a movie, I don't care how many takes it took for the actor to do it. For example, I just care that the movie is interesting emotionally for me. So I think the same is to do with that. That's kind of the same thing for music. So I don't know why I've rambled on about that, but I think it answers your question that, yeah, it's kind of ghostwriting, but it's not a ghost. It's actually like, admit that it's a collaboration, and that's absolutely fine.
Well, this is a conversation. So before I get to the first question, it's interesting you raised that. I was listening to a podcast with Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins,
Yeah,
one of my all-time favorite bands, and
me
he
too.
was talking about exactly, yeah, and he was talking about this golden period, the equivalent of like hitting home runs every time,
Mhm.
Siamese Dream, Melancholy, even Adore,
Yeah.
and then how that stopped, and how he said you do have to be open to, you can't close yourself off. You do have
Well,
to be open to collaboration or listening to the producer and taking on board what they're saying. And if Billy Corgan's doing that, then
and also nobody can be an excited 19-year-old for their whole life. And the people that are in that world, in that position, are inherently inexperienced. So the best results are usually from getting somebody with that kind of raw excitement for what they're doing and pairing them up with someone with a bit of experience, like Butch Vig and Nirvana or whatever. It's like you need the excitement, you need the passion, and you need the authenticity of the story. Um, but then you collaborate with somebody who's got the kind of experience to actually finish stuff off. Young bands are always really good at starting things and not very good at finishing. So yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think it's really limiting to sort of exclude your work from collaboration. It sounds like a very strange thing to do. I suppose for a lot of bands, they collaborate within the band, which we obviously do a lot as well. So we don't have external collaborators for our band because we act in that role all the time for each other's parts. So we're always in each other's business.
yeah,
We'll always write each other's parts and stuff. And we're always acting as a producer when the other member is doing their thing. So I suppose it's not as necessary there. And I guess a lot of bands might have a similar situation where they don't really feel they need it. But why limit yourself? It seems strange, unless you're like afraid of admitting you can't write something and you had to get someone else to do it for you. And if that's the case, then your whole life is a lie anyway. If it's just a little bit of collaboration to enable more interesting ideas to come out, I think that's only a good thing.
is it a bit? Do you know what always used to surprise me listening to Soundgarden
Hmm.
albums in the '90s, and you'd read it, and Matt Cameron, the drummer, would write a song, and he'd written all the guitar parts and bass, and that was very unusual, wasn't it, in the '90s? All members of that band
Yeah, but
to write the entire songs.
every single person in Soundgarden is some sort of freak genius. That's why.
Yeah,
But that's another example. So Soundgarden for Super Unknown apparently had an album's worth of material, took it to the producer Michael Beinhorn, and he was like, "There's no good songs here, Chris Cornell. You're going to have to try harder." And sent him off to go and write more songs. And then he came back with like Black Hole Sun.
yeah,
He was like, "What about this?" So even there, what's that if it's not a collaboration? Somebody going, "I've written this thing," and somebody else going, "Yeah, but you can do better than that." And it's more like a mentor role, I suppose, in that way. But it's the same thing. I mean, but yeah, I love getting involved in every aspect of the song, and so do the other two boys. It's like we can write each other's kind of sections and parts, but that gives us the freedom to not think of them as just ours. They're everything's everybody's part, so you don't get that kind of egotistical nightmare that can happen when there's two guitarists in a band and both want to do their riff. You know, it can be a bit weird when it's just the band's music and it's the band's parts. Then nobody has an ego about it. It's much easier.
do you know what you could do? Do you remember, the band Periphery? They put out an EP, didn't they? The Clear EP, was it
Yeah,
2014?
yeah,
All six members are all capable of writing, composing, and producing a
yeah.
song, and they put them all on one record. I thought that was so ambitious and quite original.
So
Would you could do a three-track EP, can you?
I
Oh,
kid you,
oh, just do a song, record it, do
nah,
everything.
is that a single? It was only three tracks. You could do that. I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think that's actually a sign of how people have to be, how creators have to be in the modern idiom. Is you inherently have to be like a jack of all trades to get anything done at all, because especially in a mad progressive metal niche, there's nobody's going to say, "Here's £1 million to develop you for 5 years." You've just got to do it on your own. So it's it kind of necessitates the kind of people that are very good at doing a lot of different stuff, and that's why they're always in those kinds of bands. And then there's that annoying thing that bands do sometimes when they're like, in the middle of a song we're going to swap, and like the bass player's going to play the drums, and that's just wankery, but it's it's kind of funny. Yeah, no, I think it's just how everybody has to be. You have to have a really good and also if you are a guitarist, like a easy piece of free advice is learn how to program drums and learn what bass parts are actually supposed to do. And then learn about vocal melodies and learn piano, go and learn other stuff, because it's so limiting to only think of music as the instrument you play in that music. Because I work in so many different genres, and all three of us do, we're really familiar with what stays the same across different genres and what's different. And there's way more similarities and differences between like drum and bass and Meshuggah than than you might think.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, well,
all,
yeah.
it's all low end and groove, and that's all there ever is. And it doesn't matter what kind of genre it is, you know. And then there's melody and there's harmony of some kind. So it's interesting actually. It's a good to have that perspective. I think is really useful.
So can I ask the question that BOE fans will want to know? You're
What's
about
that?
to announce signing to a new record label, which I know you can't say here before the 7th of February. Why are you no longer under contract to Season of Mist?
So is that what everybody wants? Are they talking in the street?
That's what I want to know. I've decided I'm speaking for the fan base.
Yeah. We've had really good relationships and good experiences with several different labels. Long Branch before Season of Mist were fantastic, and we've still mates with those people. It's a question of what they feel they can bring to a project and how far they can go with it. And we just felt like actually Periphery are a good example of this, where they're very independent and they kind of do things their own way. I feel like in our genre, you basically make a record, you have to get it made. That's how it works, and then you can like license that to a label to help you market it and help you put it out. We have all of the mechanisms for the sort of marketing and the putting out of records through our manager James and his setup, and we decided that we just wanted to team up with him on this and do it that way. With Long Branch, it was a little different because they got bought by another company, so some of those decisions were completely out of their hands. And with Season of Mist, we just did that one album with them, and we kind of decided very mutually and very amicably that we'd like to just do the next one ourselves. So it's not like nobody got like fired or upset or anything. I think Jessica, that was running our campaign, moved over to Hold Tight PR, for example. So some of the personnel shifted and stuff at Season of Mist. But I know that Michael said he's into the band and he likes it and he wants to push it forward. So there was no sort of weirdness. You just got to make the best decision for where you are at that point in time. And also, it's not like we actually have a finished record yet. So so we're not trading on a very like full deck of cards here. We've just got quite a bit of writing done, and we've finished off some of the songs, and we're kind of working through it still. So it's quite to be open. It's quite a sort of um, fluid situation still, which is great. Um, so yeah, it just seemed like the right idea, and I'm absolutely certain that it is. We'll have to see if that pays off. I don't know. We'll
You've
see.
got you've got Mr. James Monteith of Tesseract handling your future PR then with
Yeah, well,
Hold Tight, haven't you?
he's always done it.
Yeah,
And he's a lovely, lovely dude. And also one of my heroes, so that's always nice. Because Tess are like such a cool band. Love that
yeah,
band. Um, yeah, between like them and like Brown from Monuments, who I used to work with in a guitar shop, who kind of taught me about weird open tunings and stuff like that. Those two groups have really influenced a lot. Well, I guess it's fell silent, isn't it? Became Tess and then became Monuments. So um, yeah, them and bands like Periphery and then like Deftones and stuff are pretty influential. So
yeah.
it's pretty cool to have someone you admire helping punt your wares.
Yeah, James is such a nice guy. We interviewed him in December, because his other band, the metallic hardcore band Cage Fight,
Yep.
great band. So Andy, who's part of the A.D.K, he's more into Cage Fight, and with I'm like you, Tesseract for me are
Right.
the
Nice.
an absolute modern legend. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it? Black Orchid Empire, I put you in with the likes of Tesseract, Caligula's Horse. You probably like that Danish band Vola, don't you?
Yeah. Vola are cool. Yeah.
I would
Absolutely.
put you in with them. It's kind of
Yeah.
like you're writing alternative music for a metal audience, rather than the other way
Yeah.
around.
No, it's totally true. Because at the end of the day, what used to be very, very extreme and kind of sometimes doesn't feel that extreme as you move further into it. So there's this sort of slight arms race of bands getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and death metal basically kind of mutating and evolving. And I really like it. I really like a lot of that stuff, like Fit for an Autopsy and things like that. I think it's great.
Yeah,
Although they're getting really progressive again now, which is kind of funny. But and then the other way of doing it is to say we're going to have all of the heaviness in the kind of riffs and stuff, but we're going to temper that with a lot of melody and do the kind of things that you would expect to happen in like a 9 minute song in a slightly shorter format sometimes.
yeah,
Although, spoiler alert, some of the new stuff is going to be a lot more proggy and potentially a bit longer and a bit more windy. I don't think we're ever going to go into like 8 9 minute song territory, but there's definitely some fives and aboves.
good.
So
That's what I want.
hopefully that'll please some of the people who felt like Tempest was a bit sort of staccato, which I did get, but we didn't plan that record to be like that. We just kind of went, what section does this song need next? And we're quite ruthless with not making anything too long unless it's really exciting and interesting. Um, so everything comes out in like 3 to 4 minutes, just the way it kind of is. But yeah, thank you for those comparisons. Those are very lovely comparisons.
Yeah, you're definitely in there with them. And do you know when I reviewed Tempest Veritas for Scream Blast Repeat in
Yeah,
2023,
yeah,
I was impressed that you got that down to 37 minutes because I'm still hearing prog metal, but like you said, the main emphasis there, you were using conventional song structures.
yeah,
And what I praised you for is very few metal bands now ever show any interest in vocal lines, vocal melodies. And I could see that you wanted the bone crunching riffs,
yeah,
but you'd put as much thought into the how you were going to layer the vocals and the melody on top.
yeah,
And I just think we've lost not necessarily that ability in the wider metal scene,
yeah,
but it's almost as if people are just not even focusing on it now. They've forgotten about it. It's like listen to a Faith No More album with Mike Patton. That's
yeah.
what you can do with heavy music.
Exactly. And being that schizophrenic is like really exciting. I think, yeah, there's also a part of me which feels like melody and emotional impact and like harmonic structures and interesting progressive things in its very nature, it can't really ever reach a sort of zenith because it's always going to be different. So the whole point of it is that it's mutating and changing, and melody is like proper lizard brain built into us. Singing chants in around fires is like pretty old school human behavior. So the same with rhythm's not going anywhere. But if you ignore that element and you go, okay, great, I'm not going to do any of that, I'm just going to concentrate on like the brutality of it. It's like if you sit there and watch nothing but horror films for a while, you'll be desensitized to that graphic kind of gore, and nothing will be scary and nothing will shock you. And I feel like metal doesn't shock me anymore. Nothing I've heard makes me go, oh God, what on earth is happening there? Like occasionally it does, and it's constantly trying to do it more and more and more. But it's kind of a it feels to me like a thankless task to keep trying to push that envelope, because I don't think it can be pushed beyond a certain point without becoming self irrelevant basically. Whereas melody can be the simplest thing in the world and can be absolutely joyful, no matter what you do. So we've and also that it's not like we really made that choice massively consciously. It's just we're all pop songwriters and we write melodies all day, and that's what we love to do. And I'm obsessed with melody. That's like my favorite thing. So I don't think it's not quite as calculated as like we can find a niche. It's more just it's what we love to do, and it's what we love to listen to, and that's why I would rather listen to like White Pony over and over and over again than half of like the new kind of metalcore bands that came out after that, and maybe had some of that melody in their choruses, but then just sort of abandoned it the rest of the time. And then it's not to say that I don't really appreciate really heavy stuff as well, because I really do, and also. I mean, bands like Meshuggah are kind of in their own category anyway, because they're not just heavy, they're also completely baffling
Yeah.
and relentless. And it's like having your teeth drilled, but you like it somehow. So I guess but they're funny because they are brutal, but sometimes it's more about the rhythm than it is about the extremity of it, if that makes sense. It's just complex and interesting. It's like a tapestry. It's not just trying to hit you with like a wall of white noise all the time, which nobody can listen to that for that long.
Yeah, I'm the same because for Scream Blast Repeat, so I review an album every day, and I've grown bored of death metal because the way I look at that, you've got one arc that is basically going back to the old school, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh look, we've recorded on a 8-track
yeah.
cassette record. Okay, it's authentic. It just sounds like boat for it. And then
Yeah,
the more extreme end, it's just overproduced. Typewriter drums, quantized guitars. There's no life in it, and
yeah,
they're never going to be able to replicate that live. So I think
yeah.
that arms race you described, a lot of old school extreme metal fans wouldn't like, deathcore and stuff like that for that
No,
reason. They just don't see it as
they just want to listen to like Morbid Angel and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the same as well. It's like
Yeah.
the altars of madness, but yeah, but that's why I think over the last 10 years for me, prog metal and especially post metal seems to
Hmm.
be where I've gravitated towards.
Yeah, I mean, I love a lot of the post rock bands as well.
Mm,
Um, we're supporting Earth Tone 9 in a in Uprising Festival in May, which I'm actually really excited about because I'm a proper fan. And that's that thing where they were kind of heavy, but they still had so much melody in there.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I don't. It's a funny one. You can't get louder than 10. You can't get more aggressive than 10 out of 10. People have found a way to do things that are definitely crazier than you would have thought. But it feels like something that you get out of your system and then you go and wander off and do something else for a bit. Like a
Yeah.
lot of those bands. I think there's a limit to it. So yeah, it's fun though. It's fun to do.
So you've got a new single coming out on the 7th of February, Angel Fire.
Yeah.
I've not heard it, so you're keeping it under wraps.
Well,
Give us a hint what we can expect from this. I mean, you said there's going to be some 5-minute songs in the new album. What is there
this is so.
anything?
This is not
What
one.
is different?
This is not one of them at all. It is really quite heavy in the riffs, and but it's very melodic, anthemic kind of chorus. So it's basically ticking all of our boxes pretty hard, which is cool. It's one of our favorite things we've ever done, and it's just really fun. It's I don't know what everyone's going to make of it. I think they're going to like it a lot. I think if you like tracks like Singularity and Death Above and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Hydrogen, I think people are going to find a lot to enjoy. But we kind of wanted to just get everyone's attention with a punchy song. I think there will be some more meandering stuff later on. It's hard. Also got to think of it as like the old school notion of what a single is kind of weird now, because it used to be that you'd have it in a nice bite-sized format for radio and that kind of thing. And like, obviously there is a radio thing that happens these days, but it's not exactly the same kind of algebra that you would use to work out what should be on in 1972. Do you know? So I don't know. I don't know what that means. So we're kind of thinking like, can you do a proggy random thing as your sort of second single? And probably the answer is yes, you can, and we probably will. So stay tuned for that. We've got some stuff I'm already like really proud of, so I'm looking forward to how it kind of pans out. But yeah, Angel Fire is a banger. You're gonna enjoy it.
So how much progress have you made on album number 4 then?
I'd say we've made a lot of progress on some songs, and we've got lots and lots of ideas that are like the starting point for lots of other songs. So it's really hard to know. We tend to do stuff where we'll do loads and loads of starts. We'll have like 20 or 30 kind of riffs and bits and ideas, and then they'll pick which ones we want to evolve. So we're at the process where some of them have been completely finished, and some of them are still halfway through that process as well. But the way we do it is we'll have like all of the instrumentation done, and then we'll start thinking about melody, and then we'll do lyric like last. Again, very collaboratively. So that process can take hardly any time, or it can take quite a long time, depending on what happens. And sometimes you can have a really cool like instrumental, and then you're just trying to find the right journey for the vocal on top of it. Sometimes it comes as you're doing it, and it's really obvious. But so yeah, we kind of have a bit of a formula that tends to work for us.
So would you, because all three of you in the band are audio engineers, producers, you record
Yeah,
music, you mix it, master it,
yeah,
would you ever consider bringing in an outsider? Because I mean, all three of you do this for a living, so it's a bit like the
yeah,
band Garbage, isn't it?
yeah. But the thing is that we don't do our own music for a living. We do other people's. So it's actually really refreshing to have your own like artistic project where you can do all that stuff and not have to think about anybody else except for the three of us. I wouldn't rule out having another collaborator on something. It'd have to be the right person. Nolly springs to mind,
Nolly, definitely.
for
Yeah,
example.
is he
But
I think he's based in Bath, isn't he? Nolly.
yeah, but I don't know how much production he's doing these days. He's doing bits and bobs. But weirdly, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, I think Nolly would be really good at making us do what we already do, slightly better probably. Um, but I would be slightly more interested, I think, in working with someone that was way outside of that, that would make
Yeah.
us do something we would never normally do. That could even be more interesting. But I don't know. We sort of it's a weird situation where and it only works for us, but because of everything else we do, the band is a real cathartic like outlet that I wouldn't really want to give to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm kind of we're quite jealously guarding that, because why not? You know, we don't. It's not like we're sitting there banging our heads against a brick wall going, we don't know what to do. If that was the case, I think we'd obviously it might be good to have some help. But I would be really interested in collaborating with people on a song by song basis for like, just getting someone featuring on some of the tracks or something that could be very cool. Maybe there may be even a BOE song with some scream vocals on it yet. If someone else wants to do them, I'm not doing it.
You've got the riffs, definitely. I mean,
But the riffs, you never know. That could be fun. You can do a poll and see if anyone's interested. No, yeah, I'd be up for that. I don't know if I would actually think that having an external producer would help us or hinder us. I don't know.
yeah.
And I mean that in a really objective way, because it's the kind of thing that a lot of bands without that experience say like, no, that wouldn't work. But we've worked, the three of us in previous bands have worked with external producers loads. It's just on this particular project as it is right now, this many albums in, I think there's a sort of, we're still finding ways to push ourselves. So I don't know if we need somebody else to push us externally yet.
Like you said, it's cathartic. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you hear an artist say, what I do is a passion project,
Yeah.
they don't always mean this is everything in my life. But with you, it is your creative outlet, isn't it? It is a passion project. You'd be doing it regardless, wouldn't you?
My whole life is that. But I think,
Right.
I think what most people mean when they say passion project is they mean nobody's paying them to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of Misha from Periphery. He says that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But there's a difference. No one's paying him to do that, and he's making plenty of money doing other things
Yeah.
that he can do. So, and also don't forget that music has a long tradition of being, like an artist or a creative that was being like patronized by somebody else, allowed to do their creative art, like living in their house for free while they composed sonatas or something. That used to be pretty normal for music and for art, and these days it's shifted a lot so that there is no way of developing anything unless you can literally do it all yourself really quick and also be on TikTok all the time at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a difficult dynamic. There will be 100%, there will be some creative people and some artistic people that are not getting the chance to do what they would have been able to. The other flip side of that is that there are tons of people that get a chance to do something because they can do it themselves that they never would have been. You wouldn't have been able to persuade a label to sign you for like £250,000, which is what it would have taken to make that record. in the 70s, for example. It's just not going to happen. Whereas now, if you make weird Swedish avant-garde jazz, you can find an audience for it.
Yeah.
You can do it. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic, I think.
Yeah, can I ask about that then? So I know you've got a show booked in for the 9th of March at the Black Heart in Camden, London, and
Yes.
you're gonna be announcing dates, aren't you, of a UK tour very
No, they're
soon?
already out. They're already out. They're already
Oh,
out.
they out now.
We go on
Okay.
the 28th till the 10th
Right. Okay. How did
round.
I miss that? I was even looking into that today. So I didn't. Are you? So who've you got supporting you then?
We're not taking one support for the tour because when we do these kinds of like, especially UK headline shows, we find it works much better to have a few local supports in each place that
Yeah.
like the venue and the promoters know and love and want to be there and are bringing people there. And what you're trying to do when you go out on these tours is you're trying to like our band is not a big band. We're trying to find new people that might be interested in what we're doing. So it's really good for us to play with really cool, talented local supports. And we'd love to take our mates out. That's really fun. We've done it before, and we've been support on other people's tours before as well. But it is a funny one. I think above a certain level, it's a no-brainer because if you're selling out like academy-sized venues, it's fantastic. Just whatever lineup is going to be a really cool lineup. People's like a mini festival almost, like 4 band bills, whatever. But I think for these kind of smaller shows, like 200-300 cap shows, you're going to have a better night if you've got a bunch of people that are from that area all turning up because they know a few of the bands and they're also keen to see you. I think it's going to be a better thing. So that was our decision on that. But yeah, we're rattling around the whole UK pretty much. Sorry, Cornwall and Devon and places. I always say this.
There's nowhere to, other than Exeter University. There's nowhere to play.
Yeah.
Is there down there?
And I can't quickly run off the whole list, but we are
Yeah.
starting in Guildford and ending up back in London. So that makes sense somehow, I'm sure. Now we'll be getting all over the place. So yeah, it's all on our Instagram
Yeah.
and well, all of our social platforms. So and our website.
Yeah, no, yeah, you've got a website, exactly. Nowadays, even when I'm researching bands, I just don't expect them to have a website.
Really?
Encyclopedia Metallum or a Wikipedia page are often, if you get a Wikipedia page, that's where a lot of the information comes from. Sometimes incorrect as well, which
No,
is
exactly. Well, we're all nerds. So we just build everything ourselves.
yeah.
That's the easiest way to do it.
So do you know, like, when you were Long Branch Records is a German label, isn't it? And
Yep.
I know that because they sign really alternative metalcore type bands, that do mix R&B and pop with breakdowns and
Mhm.
the sugar riffs. Did that open up opportunities to tour mainland Europe when you were signed to them?
Yeah, it was one of the first things we did actually when we released the first record with them, which was Jugend. What it came out whilst we were on a German tour with a band called Black Map, who are wicked. They're an American band, but they were German. And Long Branch helped facilitate that, and that was really fun. Yeah, we played all around there, and then we came back and did like Download and Camden Rocks and a bunch of different shows in the UK with them as well. So it was I think we did 3,000 miles in a month. It was quite cool. It was pretty tiring though. So yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's quite
So
hard to do now.
the networking, though, I mean, all those contacts, you still have them, won't you? So
Yeah, I mean, every tour we've gone on, you obviously meet loads of new people, and it's really cool. And it's a small world, really. So you're always bumping into the same people.
yeah. I just want to briefly talk about that 2023 album, then Tempest Veritas, which
Yeah.
certainly one of my favorites when it came
Mhm.
out in that year. And the songs, you mentioned one of them already that stand out for me. I was listening to it again today.
Mm.
All of them are catchy, all of them are heavy, but Hydrogen, it's that
Yeah,
squirming riff and the vocal uplift in the chorus.
I'm a big fan.
Exquisite. I always, do you know, the first song I heard from the album was The Raven,
Right.
that offbeat riff, and again that
Yeah,
chorus.
yeah, yeah,
And then Deny the Sun's a video single as well, isn't it?
yeah, 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 yeah. We
Yeah,
did.
because it still stands out for me when I put the album on. When I get to that, it's one of them where I just stop what I'm doing. It's like, whoa, it's like
Yeah,
Tool meets Caligula's Horse with a
nice.
change of key in the bridge to the chorus. It's just so well written.
We actually at one point kind of, well, we very rarely actually go through the process of trying to work out what's going on in a music theory sense because we just write it all from gut instinct and then afterwards we're like, oh yeah, we're doing a weird modulation there. I didn't think about that. And it's in like 15/8 or something stupid. But yeah, we're really proud of that record. It's actually it's obviously the best thing that we've done for us so far. Um, uh, and people love all the different. Everyone likes different things, but if it's your own project, you really want to feel that progression through, and it's nice to kind of go back and hear that as well. But yeah, Hydrogen's really fun. I love playing that one live. It's really, really fun.
Well, that's my next question. Which songs can fans expect from Tempus Veritas to be on the set list on your UK tour?
We've kind of got to sort that out actually tonight. I think you'll definitely get Deny the Sun. You'll
Yeah.
definitely get Raven, I'd say. You definitely get Hydrogen. We were playing Scarlet Haze for a bit. That was really cool live. That works for a big kind of anthemy moment. What else do we play?
There's a song, is it Ronin?
Yeah, we've never played that live.
That's quite ambitious, that chorus, isn't it? Saying that though, that is one to get people
Yeah,
joining in, isn't it?
we've never managed to work that one out. There's a weird thing as well when you make music like we do, where some of our ideas start in the rehearsal room, but a lot of them you write in the studio and you record them all in the studio. And that doesn't mean you've ever played the whole song all the way through in the right order, like in the same way that nobody's acted an entire movie out in one either. So then you have to have this whole process where you try and work out how to actually physically play all the stuff that you have written. And you play it individually, but playing it all together is like a different thing. So yeah, there's that. So we've got a bit of a process there on some of the new ones. And Ronin is one that we've never actually figured out, to be totally transparent. We've never really like sat down and gone through that process. I think it might be fun to fit that into a longer set. It'd be really cool. I guess it's a bit like Evergreen, which is from some before, and that one usually has that place in the set of being the long, kind of slightly proggy mid-set kind of song. Planning a set list is a bit like planning an album track order. You've kind of got to get the journey just right, and sometimes there's songs that you'd love to put in, but they don't really fit the journey at that point, depending on the length of the set. So we'll see.
Yeah. There's a song on Tempest Veritas, is it Glory to the King?
Yeah.
That's another standout for me. Have you played that live?
We have rehearsed that one, but I don't think it's ever made it into a set. It's another really difficult song to play.
Yeah, especially as a three-piece as well, because you've got to sing and play, haven't you? That's
yeah.
That's going to be the difficult thing, especially given the technicality of some of the rhythms.
Yeah, it's not that fun. Most of the time, both me and Dave are singing as well, like and trying to play fairly complicated stuff. But then I don't know, because then I see what other people do in other bands, and I'm like, our stuff's well easy compared to that. So we can't really complain. But it is a bit of a challenge, and the three-piece thing is fairly unusual. I don't think there's very many technical metally three pieces about.
Because they need 2 or 3 guitarists playing 8-string instruments, don't they? Most of them.
And we've never had, and probably never will have, any kind of backing track. We have a metronome, which we'd be very fucking lost without. But it's just a click, and it's all come from us. And that means that some bits in our productions don't make it into the live set, like some of the kind of backgroundy elements. But that's fine because it's a different medium. So we're always trying to make sure that it sounds as like sensible as possible live. But then it also kind of affects the way we make the record in the first place. We're not always going to layer up loads and loads of parts. We're usually trying to keep it quite as a three-piece for live, because then you don't have that problem of like, oh, there's 5 guitar parts here, which one should I play? Yeah, I mean, the eagle-eared of those watching us live can spot which bits haven't made it into the live part, but it's very rare, actually. There might be 1 or 2 things where there's a little riff that's actually layered on top that isn't there, but you don't really notice at the time of it. Maybe, hopefully.
Go on, I'm going to have to ask the question, because you're obviously a technically accomplished guitar player. Why don't you play guitar solos?
I do on some records.
Okay. I'm going off Tempest Veritas.
Yeah, we didn't have any solos really on Tempest, did we? And you know what? The reason for that was not because I don't want to do solos, it's because none of the songs had a section that I felt that was what's needed. Because as well, when you're doing a guitar like solo, it needs to have a reason to be there. It's got to be a palate cleanser before the next section of music, or a big climactic moment. It can't just be because you feel like, I think for a lot of people it's because they want to play a solo.
Yeah.
And if you take that out of the question, you almost never want to play a solo. I'm not saying everyone who plays solos is an egotistical maniac. I'm just saying most guitarists left to their own choice will be like, I could just not.
Yeah.
Right, ask Mark from Periphery if he'd prefer not to play solos, and he'll tell you the answer. And the answer is he absolutely would not prefer to play solos.
Yeah.
But yeah, there've been some solo moments on some of the older records. It's a funny one. It's one of those divisive things. It's a bit like vocal delivery style, isn't it? Like some people only listen to like harsh vocals and hate melodic vocals, and some people are like, if you put a guitar solo in it, I can't listen to it. And sometimes it's the exact opposite. I don't know why it's so divisive, because for me it's just a melodic instrument. I think in a three-piece though, you are sacrificing all of your harmonic content to put that in, especially live. So if it's cool that it's bass, drums, and a guitar thing, then go for it. And there are definitely some moments in that, like on Semaphore, there's a few songs which have it, and on Yugen and previous, there's probably more and more actually. Maybe I grew out of it.
You tend to find that, don't you? You tend to find, the Periphery, Haken, bands like that. They can all do solos. They're all
Of course,
virtuosos, but they use them sparingly, especially Haken. When you get a solo from
yeah,
Charlie Griffiths or Richard Henshaw, it's like, whoa, they put a lot of thought into it, not just
yeah.
shredding and that will do.
And also, I live in a world where Plini already exists, so
Yeah.
I don't really want to try and play that game. Do you know what I mean? But having said that, if it's the right melodic part for the song, then it's great. And I, our whole thing with our band has been try and find the thing that you love to do and the thing that makes sense to you, and do that more. So if we're likely to do a thing, we'll lean into that thing, because that's where you find your own sound. And I feel like as a band, people are reminded of all of our influences. Of course they are, because every piece of music that's ever been made has already happened. But I do think we have a character to what we do that is uniquely ours, and I don't think there's not that many bands where that's the case. And I think that's something that I feel really proud of, that we're not going to get rid of anytime soon, is trying to push into that thing that is uniquely ours.
Yeah, because like you say, you do put a lot of thought and effort into your choruses, don't you, and your vocal
Yeah,
technique.
yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Which song are you most proud of? Black Orchid Empire song in terms of your vocal technique and performance.
Um, on You mean as a song or just as a difficult thing to do?
In your yeah, as a song in your back catalog. I said I'm going to put you on the spot. You won't be able to answer it in 10 seconds. I know
No,
that.
I mean, well, because as a song, the one I'm most proud of is probably "Winter Keeps Us Warm," which is off Semaphore. Because every single show we've played, I've had pretty much everybody in the room singing the sort of hooky woe part back, um, even to the point where it's like when we were supporting Skunk and Anansie and we were playing with like 3,000 people every night, and they were singing it back to me like that was a real thing. So that must be doing something right. Um, in terms of like just the sort of technique of it, problem is everything I'm proud of doing in the studio is something I later really fucking hate when we play live. It's really hard. So
Yeah.
the harder I push myself on a recording, the more I'm going to hate myself later. Um, any time where I'm having to hit my like top sort of note on the
Yeah.
top notes in chest are always satisfying to get right, but also like really hard. And I have a weird relationship with singing where I didn't really start doing any vocals till I was in my mid 20s. When I was like putting an earlier band together with Billy, called Cape Fear. We sort of were like, let's find a singer, and I said, well, I'll do it. I'll take lessons and I'll do it. And I sort of learned how to do singing like an instrument, which I'm really proud of, and it's a great thing. But it means that I've never really seen it as like my main thing. I feel like my main thing is songwriting,
Yeah.
um, and even guitar. Neither guitar or vocals are really like my primary thing. They're my guitar is my main instrument. Vocals is my main instrument, but I don't feel like they're the best way I can express myself. Whereas melody and lyric, I think, are. Which sounds like a fucking strange thing to say, doesn't it? But it's there are so many people in the world that are 1,000 times better at both those things, both guitar and vocals, than me. But that I don't think there's anybody that can do that exact combination in the way that I do it. And that, in the same way that everybody's unique, that's what's important to me, is the combination of my taste for a guitar part and my taste for a melody and what I want to say. When I say what I want to say, it is a combo lyrically with the boys as well. So we're all we're all co-writing all the lyrics, but I think you can't help but say things through your own experience and through your own lens anyway. Um, but yeah, it's the combination that's important. I think that's probably true for every artist, whether they know it or not. The interesting thing about them is their unique combination of worldview, experience, and all of their influences. Everyone can have the same influences; they're all there, but filtered through what makes you you is what makes those influences interesting when they come out as a creative thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's certain artists in there that even if you transcribe their music, it's just not going to sound like they do. Like Robert Smith of The Cure, for example.
Yeah,
I put a
I mean,
Cure album on. It's technically minimalist, but emotionally, I don't think anyone gets anywhere near that. And it's
exactly, and that's not
amazing
because
music.
it's the easiest thing in the world in some ways.
Yeah.
It's like a forest. Uh, and the intro is like 2 minutes long before we get any like what's happening. It's just mad.
Yeah.
But it just as soon as he opens his mouth, you believe him, and you whatever he's saying. Tom York is another one where he'll say anything, and you'll be like, I really understand that you mean. I don't know what that means, but I know that you mean it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
It's really that's what. And Mike Patton is like
Yeah.
genius for that. He does say like, anything. He's the weirdest dude.
Yeah.
Um, but it, but what it means is what it means to him. When you're recording him, you're recording his intention and what he wants to say, and that's what's really interesting about that. It's true of any great artist, I think. So yeah, music's a very weird medium.
Excellent. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. So, can you give us an idea when we might be getting the album number 4 from Black Orchid Empire?
Number 5,
Number 5, sorry.
plus there's a live in the studio EP. But yes, album number 5.
Yeah, I excluded that from the count. So I've got my mathematics wrong on this. Apologies to the
um, I'm procrastinating because I don't know the answer. I think it's going to be a series of single releases over quite a long period of time because I think releasing lots and lots of individual songs first is the way to go, and the album will drop later this year, early next
Yeah.
year. If it's really spread out, we don't know. But what I can promise you is the reason for that is that we want to make sure it's as good as everything else we've done before, if not better. And we're not really letting any deadlines fuck with that. So
Yeah.
we've never really had deadlines apart from you always seem to have loads, but especially now, there's not really any reason for us to suddenly be like, oh God, let's quickly write an album in a week. We've already been taking our time and we'll continue to do that. It takes a bit of time to make a good stew. it's got
Yeah.
to be a while. So yeah, I think it'll be a few months yet, but worth the wait, the best I can say.
Looking forward to it because that worked well for Spirit Box.
Yeah.
Releasing, like singles.
Yeah.
Over 3 years. I mean, only like 5 of them made the album Eternal Blue, didn't they? But
Yeah.
I remember getting into them and I was like, I can get used to this, even though I don't review singles for Screen Blast Repeat. We do actually have A.D.K radio now. So, but at the time, it was just like, when are they going to produce an album? And then you put YouTube on, there's a new video, and it was good just to get caught up in that.
There's no, yeah, it's a funny one actually. The whole way of doing it, where you're like, you have an album and you release a couple of singles to promote the album. That was mainly around giving, journalists something chunky to work with. You can't review a single really. What's the point? It's fine, but you got to have it in the context of a record really. So yeah, I think for our genre, albums are still very important. I don't think that's going anywhere, but I definitely think there's nothing to stop people releasing stuff bit by bit, and then you kind of get a compilation almost at the end of that, plus more stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do like 10 or 12 singles from a track, but from an album, but you can, 5 or 6 is not unheard of at all. And I think that's fine. I think most people consume music in that way now. They probably just they hear bits of music that make them excited and they go and listen to that, and they're not really necessarily looking for an hour of listening time. They're looking for 10 minutes. Short form content. We're training everybody. Only think in 20-second chunks, aren't we? But I don't think that's. I think that's a whole other thing. But it's we're not. The album's not going anywhere. Let's be honest.
I hope not. Well, it doesn't matter because I will still buy albums.
I don't think so. It's like did the popularity of TV series ruin films? No, they both exist. They're side by side. It's fine. Yeah. There would have been a time where if someone had told you that you'd get 8-part series for like 100 million an episode being made, that you'd be insane. But that is exactly what happens. So
Yeah.
it just means that the sort of production value of the individual shows has gone up. And it's the same thing for records. Like the album's going to be there, but people might just consume them as individual songs. A lot of people consume them as individual songs, even though they belong on an album when it's already been released. You know, they never listen to the album. I am one of those old school guys who'll be like, I want to listen to the whole album start to finish.
Yeah,
I don't,
same here.
no shuffle, no skip. But that's just, you know, old.
Yeah, it's like, give me a Tool album. It's like, how dare you
Yeah.
put this on a Spotify playlist? I'm offended.
What are you going to do? Listen to like just halfway through one of the songs?
Can you imagine listening to like just Onima, the next album on random? Be like, what the hell's this? Message to Harry Manbach.
Yeah, that does actually happen sometimes. It's quite fun.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to the next single, which we know it's going to be. So we know that Angel Fire comes out on the 7th of February.
Yes.
To our viewers, get it pre-saved on the streaming platforms.
Yes.
And then also on YouTube. We want them to like your page on YouTube so we can generate, get the algorithm going as well and generate comments.
We want their eyeballs on everything, but much more importantly, we also want them to come and see a show, because that would be awesome. That's where we love to see people, and we love to have these kind of chats with people in the flesh, which is really fun. So yeah, go and get some tickets. You can find them. You can find them.
I'll be coming. Yeah. Now I can't believe that I didn't see the dates before this interview. I said you didn't. I've spent 2 hours preparing. I'm in a good place.
Yeah. And you were like,
missed off.
Why are you not touring? Seems
You're thinking, what kind of research were you doing?
amazing. I don't care, because you like the albums.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, brilliant.
But yeah, thank you very much. So this is Tales from the Underground, episode 1, and you've been listening to me interview Paul Visser of Black Orchid Empire. Enjoy.